The first time she saw the billionaire cry, he wasn't standing beside a grave, attending a funeral, or mourning a loved one. He was kneeling alone in a locked underground room, holding a tiny pair of pink children's shoes against his chest as if they were the only thing keeping his heart alive. His face, known to the world as cold, fearless, and untouchable, was completely shattered. The woman who had been secretly hired to make him fall in love froze outside the half-open door, realizing that everything she had been told about him was a carefully constructed lie. In that single heartbreaking moment, she understood that she was no longer playing a role in someone else's plan. She had stepped into a tragedy that would change both of their lives forever. If you believe that kindness can heal even the deepest wounds and that everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone you care about, leave a comment, and subscribe to Kindness Speaks. Your support helps bring more emotional stories like this to people around the world. For nearly 3 years, 28-year-old Emma had struggled to keep her life together. After losing both of her parents in a tragic highway accident, she inherited nothing except unpaid debts and a small apartment that was falling apart. Every morning she woke before sunrise, working 2 different jobs just to afford rent and medicine for her younger brother, who had been left with permanent injuries after the same accident. Dreams had slowly disappeared from her life. Love became a luxury she believed belonged to other people. Survival was all that mattered. Everything changed on an ordinary rainy afternoon when a sharply dressed woman walked into the small bookstore where Emma worked. She introduced herself as a representative of a private consulting company and offered Emma an opportunity that sounded too unbelievable to refuse. The salary was larger than Emma could earn in 5 years. The work seemed simple, though strangely unusual. Emma was expected to become the personal cultural assistant of one of the richest men in the country, attending charity events, recommending books, organizing social appearances, and slowly helping him become emotionally open again. Only after signing several confidentiality agreements did she learn the hidden purpose of the assignment. A powerful group of investors believed that billionaire businessman Alexander Hayes had become emotionally unstable after a mysterious tragedy years earlier. They feared he would abandon the company, refuse important mergers, and destroy billions of dollars in investments. They believed that if someone could make him fall in love again, his emotional recovery would restore confidence in the business empire. Emma had been carefully selected because psychological evaluations described her as compassionate, patient, intelligent, and impossible to dislike. She wasn't being hired to deceive him through manipulation alone. She was expected to become the light that brought him back to life. Emma's heart sank when she realized what they were truly asking. She hated the idea of playing with another person's emotions. But every time she looked at her brother struggling to walk across their tiny apartment with metal braces supporting his legs, she remembered the hospital bills waiting on the kitchen table. The impossible choice slowly became the only choice she believed she had. Alexander Hayes was exactly as newspapers described him. At 36 years old, he had built one of the largest technology companies in the world. His business decisions were legendary, his interviews were rare, and his expression never changed. Financial magazines admired him. Employees respected him. Competitors feared him. Yet behind every successful headline existed another rumor that no journalist had ever managed to explain. Every evening, regardless of where he was in the world, Alexander disappeared for exactly 1 hour. No assistant, no security guard, and no family member ever spoke about those missing 60 minutes. During their first meeting, Emma expected arrogance. Instead, she found silence. Alexander barely looked at her before returning to the paperwork covering his enormous office desk. His voice remained calm, almost exhausted, as he explained her responsibilities with remarkable politeness. There was no anger. No pride. No interest. It felt less like meeting a billionaire and more like standing beside someone who had forgotten how to hope. Over the following weeks, Emma quietly observed the man she had been sent to charm. She noticed something nobody else seemed to recognize. Every employee was treated with genuine respect. Security guards received birthday gifts. Janitors were greeted by name. Receptionists never worked overtime without extra pay. Anonymous donations constantly appeared at children's hospitals across the country, yet no charity was ever allowed to reveal the donor's identity. The cruel billionaire described by Gossip magazine simply didn't exist. That realization made her assignment feel heavier every single day. Instead of trying to manipulate him, Emma found herself naturally caring about his well-being. She encouraged him to take breaks, convinced him to attend community events, and introduced books that slowly sparked conversations neither of them expected. For the first time in years, Alexander occasionally smiled. They spoke about childhood memories, forgotten dreams, and the quiet beauty of ordinary life. His laughter was rare, but every time it appeared, it carried the innocence of someone remembering happiness after a very long winter. As the weeks turned into months, Emma began feeling something she had promised herself would never happen. She was falling in love with the man she had originally been paid to deceive. The guilt became unbearable. Every smile Alexander offered felt undeserved. Every moment of trust felt like another wound she was secretly creating. She considered quitting countless times, but fear for her brother's future always stopped her. Then strange things began happening. Several nights each month, Alexander disappeared without explanation. His security team remained unusually tense before those evenings. Confidential files vanished from his office only to reappear days later. Sometimes he returned exhausted, with fresh scratches on his hands and an expression filled with unbearable grief. When Emma gently asked whether he was all right, he always answered with the same quiet sentence. Some promises never stop hurting. One evening, unable to ignore her growing concern, Emma accidentally followed him after work. She watched his car drive far beyond the city into an isolated estate hidden behind ancient trees. The property looked abandoned, surrounded by high stone walls and heavy iron gates. After waiting several minutes, she quietly slipped inside through an unlocked side entrance. The mansion was almost completely empty. Dust covered expensive furniture. Family portraits had been carefully removed from the walls, leaving only faded outlines where they once hung. Every hallway echoed with painful silence. Then she noticed a staircase leading downward. As she descended into the basement, the temperature grew colder. At the end of the hallway stood a single wooden door, slightly open. Emma stepped closer. What she saw beyond that doorway made her blood run cold and shattered every assumption she had ever believed about Alexander Hayes.